Hello, and welcome to the Fruit Logistica Media Studio. My name is Ed Leahy from FruitNet Media International, and I'm delighted to be joined by Simon Wainwright from IDG today to talk about retail, what retailers need to be doing and need to be thinking about going forward if they're going to be successful. You gave a fantastic talk last night at the FruitNet World of Fresh Ideas.
Thank you.
And just picking up on that, I wanted to unpack a bit to start this core concept you spoke about, RED, relevant, efficient, different. Could you unpack that a little bit for the cameras and tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at IGD we spend a lot of time visiting stores around the globe, and we built this framework to try and understand how we think stores can create a bit of differentiation versus their competitive set. So we created this framework. It's called REDS. It stands for relevant, efficient, and different. Relevant means, is it relevant to shoppers? So is it doing something in its offer that makes it relevant to those shoppers? Efficient is more around the store operation. So is the store operation being more efficient by some process being put into this store? And different, as the name suggests, is quite frankly, we've seen something in this store that we haven't seen elsewhere, and that's the key point. When we look at global retail, there are certain retailers that are putting down new space, and I know we want to talk about discounts in a moment, and that's principally those guys, but lots of retailers are investing money in their own estate and doing things that might create a bit of differentiation to bring those shoppers and keep those shoppers in their stores.
Is this kind of news to retailers? When you talk about these concepts with retailers, so you need to be different, you need to be relevant. I presume they sort of say, well, we've been trying to be, or they have. Do you think there has been some complacency previously?
Yeah, I think we get asked to go along to lots of store openings, and we get to see lots of new stores, and sometimes those stores only edge forward a little bit, and I think with the creation of this framework, this RED framework, it helps not only IGD frame its thinking about how we look at stores, but it does help our members. We are a membership organisation, so retailers belong to us, as do manufacturers, and it really helps their understanding of things they can do, and also, they don't have to try and do all three. They don't have to try and do relevant, efficient and different. They might just want to play to one strength because of who they're up against in that locality.
Yeah, and we were speaking earlier how from a journalist perspective, there seems to be a lot of energy going to online channels, but this kind of challenges that and says, actually, you mentioned 96% of future trades in the next couple of years will be physical, and therefore they need to be focusing on physical. Do you think, is that sort of challenge that narrative that actually online is a big challenge to focus on?
Yeah, I think it's, I think online perhaps gets a disproportionate share of voice because it is attractive, it's new, it's wow. But our data would suggest that in 5 years' time, as you said, 96% of sales will still go for a physical format. There will be huge growth in online. It's going to double. It's going to go from 2% to 4%. That's a big change. What retailers recognise is that it's a less profitable channel for them. So they aren't going to push it perhaps as hard as they will push some of the things they can do through their physical stores. So I think it's a challenge for them. Where we see the growth coming through for online is where retailers will try and encourage shoppers to adopt click and collect, which actually has an extra benefit for that retailer, because retailers tell us that when a shopper goes to collect their groceries, they might also pop into the store again and buy something else. So that's how that online might grow. Well, it will double, as I say, but let's be realistic, 96% is still going to be through a physical store. Yeah,
certainly. And that's where the competition about making your fresh produce, making your products look great, relevant, efficient, different comes in. Do retailers have the resources and to do this? You spoke about some really interesting examples of people looking at demographic changes, about sort of the missions that people are going on. It requires a lot of data and understanding. Do supermarkets around Britain, Europe, the world, are they able to keep up?
I mean, obviously retailers vary in size and scale from the very large to kind of chains of only 10, 15 stores, but certainly the medium to larger stores, retailers have a huge investment in data. They understand that data is their way to understanding how can I do the right thing for my shoppers in this locality, and they're investing in lots and lots of operational techniques and tactics to try and almost flex their offer by location. So the example I showed yesterday of Sobeys in Canada trying to flex a whole format to reflect a changing demographic of increased Southeast Asians in the Canadian market is a brilliant example of that. They've identified a need through data and they've flexed a format to produce an offer that's right for those shoppers.
And just finally, when I was hearing your talk last night, I was thinking, in some ways, that's absolutely true. Relevant, efficient, and different with guys like M&S. We've seen that come through. But in other ways, with guys like Jack's and the success of discounters, in some ways they sort of stripped everything back and they just said, price. This is going to be our sort of USP. Does that in some way challenge the narrative of
it's actually quite interesting. When you look at some of the traditional discounters like an Aldi and like a Lidl, you look at their advertising now and their positioning, they are very much trying to move away from pure price. And it's more around the quality you get for that price. And we're actually starting to see this shift of discounters pushing their quality credentials, whilst the more established retailers trying to demonstrate their price credentials. So there's almost this meeting in the middle. So I think if you go into a discounter store now, they look very different to discounters of 15, 20 years ago. They invest a lot in their estate. I said at the start that they are the few retailers in the world that are actually laying down new space and getting more shoppers in. So they're actually investing quite a bit in that store, in that physical space. And based on what I said earlier, they aren't investing heavily in online. They're very careful about how they play in online. For them, it's very much a physical play with a few categories being sold online. So they're very much cherry picking and working out the ones where the margin is the right level for them to make a sustainable business.
Fantastic. Well, Simon, thank you very much for sharing insights from IGD and from yourself, and hopefully see you back here next year.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ed. Thank you
very much.